Hi, thank you for joining 5 Questions with Welli. Um, we would first of all love to know who you are, where you work, and where you are based.
Okay, so thank you for having me here. I'm Welli, I'm called Welli, and I'm based in Germany right now. And I work for a company called Bio-Rad Laboratories. We make medical devices and clinical diagnostics devices, and mostly in life science, this field we are. And we ship globally, internationally. We're based in US, actually. We're a US company.
Mhm.
And I work as a regional trade compliance manager, handling imports and exports and overseeing sanctions as well for the EMEA team.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what I do right now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so from imports, exports, and sanctions, like a mix of all trade compliance. Yeah, so that's what I do right now.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Question number 2. Why do you think trade compliance is critical to the success of your organization?
Interesting. So trade compliance is very critical, not only for our organization, right? I believe that it's a critical department for any organization, any company. Why? Because previously, let's say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, if you wanted to enable a business into a new country, you you only try to understand what is your market in the new country, who's your business partners, who's your customers, and procurement, logistics, trade lane, and that's all you focus on. But right now, that's not enough. You need trade compliance to enable a new business in a new country which you have not yet discovered or not yet made a business into, because it's just because you have a customer, you have a demand, or you don't have a lot of competitor, that's not enough for you to do a business. You need to have trade compliance team in your organization to tell us or assess your risk. Depends on what kind of product you are, who you are dealing with, who's your end customer. And since that's getting much more complex recently because of the global geopolitics, it is important for trade compliance to be present in any organization. But trade compliance shouldn't come at the very end, it has to come at the very beginning.
Mhm.
It's not easy to do business with, it's always easy to do business with Switzerland, but not to Russia, right?
Mhm.
And how do you define this difficulty? A trade compliance team has to define what kind of tension you are having in certain countries. So yeah, that's why I say it's very critical.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Question number 3, Welly.
Mhm.
In your opinion, where do you see currently the most pitfalls within trade compliance? Where do people still do
Mhm.
a lot of mistakes?
So pitfall, I would say in trade compliance, I would say mostly in data discrepancy. Right now, in most of the organization, you have one ERP system, right? So you have SAP, Oracle, but unfortunately, this is not all your data is. Somehow you have GTS, like these add-ons where you have GTS module, ECC, then you have, let's say, your warehouse management system or EWM. And you have other systems like a customs communication platform like Atlas in Germany, or Passar, or EDEC in Switzerland, or Delta in France, where you communicate your information to customs, right? Now, since you're having different database, you should be able to have the same data in all these platforms. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Most of the companies will have a bit of data discrepancies between their own system. And that's one of the biggest risks and pitfall, I would say, because if you as a company does not have the accurate information, your own business, what you're handling, what you have exported, then how come you defend yourself in front of a customs authority when they come with their own data to challenge against you, and then you don't have the right information with you, right? So this is one of the major issue I see, which is data discrepancies. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for your insights. Question number 4.
Mhm.
What do you think are the biggest areas of improvement needed in trade compliance right now?
Right now, biggest area of improvement, Say, recently there's a lot of regulations coming up, right? Every day we see some new regulations coming up in different regions. There's always a new sanctions package coming up. The problem with these new regulations is what making us as a trade compliance professional work every day, right? And the issue is these regulations somehow are not very easily written in a way that anyone could understand. Unless you have a law degree, you cannot really interpret information coming from the authorities into simpler terms where you can explain this to your business saying, hey, this is the new regulation, we don't do this and this. So it's not very clear. It's always a more complicated. And then you have to spend more money by talking to outside counsel, asking, hey, is my understanding right? Right? Even though it's in the same language, the regulation is in English everywhere, but still it's not easily understood to tailor it to your own business. Then the biggest improvement in trade compliance is when a new regulations comes out, it'd be nice if the authority, if the regulation comes out and then it's easily understandable and readable that you make sense of it. So with that, then it will be much easier. I hope this happens, right? Yeah.
And the last question to you, Welli, is we had this ThinkLab here at SEIA for the past 2 days. Which of the best practices that we have discussed here at the SEIA ThinkLab do you think you find most insightful going back to your day-to-day activities?
That's a good question. So, being here for the ThinkLab for 2 days is almost the end of second day. And it was nice to meet a lot of expertise in this trade compliance field from different company coming all together at one place and discussing about all the hot topics back and forth. It's very engaging and very useful as well. Brought a lot of points on the table, and there's many things where we see as a common, like we're all discussing one topic where everyone is having a common issue, right? But other than that, there are things like, for example, Beth Ann, she was mentioning one best practice where trade compliance will need to go to their own organization finance team to ask what are their top 5 priorities on that year, and then see how can trade compliance help to make your business to achieve that goal to get the most revenue out of it. That's one thing which is very insightful, because oftentimes we have our own agenda in trade compliance. We have our own projects going on, which might not be as beneficial to the business leadership because they have their own goal of revenue, but then you're running a different race, right? And now you don't want it to complain when you're not, getting heard more often, because why? Because it's not a priority. It's a priority for trade compliance, but it's not a priority for the entire business. So it's much better when you go to your own finance team, ask them what is your goal, and then try to help them with that. This way, you get here, and you also working on the most prioritized project your company is working on. So that one thing which I learned here was very insightful. I think it's a good thing.
I'm glad to hear.
And I'm sure I'm gonna do the same in my organization.
Thank you for joining us in this year's ThinkLab, and I'm glad to hear that you learned something from one of the other participants, and I'm sure they learned a lot of things from you as well.
Thank you.
I hope to see you again next year.
Thanks so much. I'm glad. I'm glad that you guys invited. It's very fun and engaging, and I hope to see this happening very often.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much.